thought the old saying, "Don't look back," was metaphoric. Just advice to keep moving forward. But in these mountains, it's a survival rule. Because if you look back, you might see that the footsteps following you are made by feet twisted entirely the wrong way around. The cabin sat deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina, at the end of a gravel road that hadn't seen a fresh tire track in 20 years. I had inherited the property from a great uncle I'd never met, a man the locals simply called Old Silas. They didn't speak well of him. When I stopped for gas in the nearest town, the attendant actually stopped pumping when I mentioned the address. "Blackwood Ridge," he spat, wiping grease on a rag. "Folks don't go up there. The soil's sour. Nothing grows right. Even the trees look in pain." I laughed it off. I was a photographer from Chicago looking for grit and isolation. I found both. The first 2 nights were quiet, oppressively quiet. No crickets, no owls, just a heavy, suffocating silence that pressed against the window panes. But on the 3rd night, the smell started. It was a thick, sweet stench, like rotting magnolias mixed with copper blood. It came from the root cellar. The cellar door was located outside, a heavy oak slab secured with 3 different rusted padlocks. Being the curious idiot I was, I spent the afternoon sawing through them. I expected moonshine stills or old tools. Instead, I found a room entirely lined with salt, thick rock salt piled in the corners, and in the center, a single rocking chair facing the wall. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. I left, locked it up as best I could with a new chain, and went back inside the main cabin. That night, I woke up at 3 a.m. Thump, drag, thump, drag. The sound was coming from the porch. It sounded like someone walking with a heavy limp. I grabbed my flashlight and crept to the window. The beam cut through the mountain fog, illuminating the porch swing. It was empty, but the swing was moving. Creak, creak. "Is someone there?" I called out. My voice cracked. From the darkness beyond the porch railing, a voice answered. But it wasn't a stranger's voice. It was my voice. "Is someone there?" The darkness mimicked perfectly, only pitched slightly higher, mocking me. I scrambled back, locking the deadbolt. The scratching started 10 minutes later, not on the door, but on the roof. Long, slow scrapes, like knives being dragged across the shingles. It circled the house, round and round, faster and faster. I barricaded myself in the bedroom, clutching a fire poker. I found Silas's diary in the nightstand. The last entry, dated 3 days before he died, was barely legible. "She is not a woman. She is a memory of hate. I saw her feet today. She walked toward me, but her tracks pointed away. She wears her body like a twisted suit. I promised her the firstborn. I lied. Now she wants the marrow." The scratching stopped abruptly. The silence was worse. I sat in the dark, waiting. Then I heard the floorboards creak in the hallway. I hadn't heard a window break. I hadn't heard a door open. She was just inside. The smell hit me first, that rotting flower stench. It seeped under the bedroom door. "Let me in, Elias," a voice cooed. It sounded like my mother who had died 5 years ago. "It's cold out here, baby. Let Mama in."
"You're not her," I whispered, tears streaming down my face.
The doorknob turned slowly. The lock held. Then came the laughter. It wasn't human. It sounded like a fox screaming, a high-pitched, jagged sound that my teeth ached. The wood of the door began to splinter, not from force, but from rot. The wood turned gray and soft, crumbling like ash. Through the hole in the door, I saw her. She was tall, impossibly tall, her head stooped to fit in the hallway. Her hair was a matted curtain of black grease that touched the floor. She wore a tattered white nightgown, stained brown at the hem. But it was the feet that froze my heart. She stood facing me, her pale, bony hands resting on the doorframe. But her feet were facing backward. The heels were pointing at me. The toes pointed toward the hallway behind her. The anatomy was shattered, the knees bent at a sickening angle to accommodate the twist. She lifted her head. Her face was blank. No eyes, no nose, just a smooth expanse of pale skin, until a vertical slit opened where her mouth should be. "I'm so hungry," she hissed. I didn't think. I threw the heavy iron poker through the window, shattering the glass, and vaulted out into the night. I hit the dirt hard, rolling, and sprinted for my car. I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking so violently I dropped them. As I reached down to the gravel, I saw them. Bare footprints in the dust. They were right next to my car door. The toes were pointing away from the car, toward the woods. But I knew that meant she was standing right behind me. I felt wet, cold hair brush against the back of my neck. I didn't turn around. I grabbed the keys, jammed them in, and tore out of that driveway, gravel spraying. I drove for 3 hours until I hit the interstate lights. I live in a city now, a high-rise apartment on the 40th floor. I thought I was safe. But yesterday, I came home and found a trail of dirt on my carpet, just a small patch. I looked closer at the footprints. The heels were pressed deep into the carpet, facing the door. The toes pointed toward my bedroom. She didn't break in. She was already waiting inside. I keep the lights on now, always. But last night, I checked the baby monitor for my newborn daughter. She was sleeping soundly, but in the corner of the nursery, the rocking chair was moving, back and forth, back and forth. And underneath the chair, 2 backward feet were dangling, just inches from the floor.
You've seen their stories, but the darkness has only just